The grand chandeliers of Chief Chukwuebuka's mansion gleamed like fallen stars, casting eerie shadows on the polished marble floors. Outside, the wind howled through the sprawling estate, whispering secrets only the walls had heard. The night of the will's reading had arrived, a night that would unravel the destiny of his beloved twins, Rita and Richard. Richard, the golden boy, bathed in his father's wealth, his arrogance as vast as the empire he was set to inherit. Rita, sharp-witted and fiercely independent, had spent her life proving she was more than just a daughter, she was a force. Yet, as the lawyer's voice echoed through the silent room, the weight of their father's decisions crushed her like an avalanche. Mansions, money, and power, Richard received it all. For Rita, a mere phone and £1 million. The room crackled with disbelief, her heart pounded like war drums, and the whispers of betrayal slithered through the air. Had her father truly abandoned her in debt, or had he left behind a puzzle only she could solve? Chief Chukwuebuka was a man of great wealth, power, and influence, but beyond his business empire, his heart belonged to only one woman, Adana. From the moment he set eyes on her, he knew she was the one. She was everything he had ever dreamed of, graceful, kind, and intelligent. Their love was one that many envied. Despite his vast fortune, Chief Chukwuebuka never allowed money to come between them. He adored Adana beyond measure, treating her not just as his wife but as his queen. She, in turn, loved him deeply, not for his wealth, but for the man he was. Life was blissful. Their home was filled with laughter, romance, and an unbreakable bond. But there was one thing missing: a child. For years, they tried to conceive, but fate seemed to deny them that joy. Doctors, herbalists, and even fervent prayers yielded no results. Yet, Chief Chukwuebuka never wavered in his love for Adana. He reassured her daily, "Even if we never have children, you are enough for me." Then, one fateful morning, Adana came running to him, tears streaming down her face. "Ebuka, I'm pregnant," she whispered. The news shook him to his core. He lifted her off the ground and spun her around, laughing and crying at the same time. It was the happiest day of his life. He showered her with even more love and attention, ensuring that she lacked nothing throughout the pregnancy. Months passed, and Chief Chukwuebuka watched Adana's belly grow with pride and excitement. He often spoke to the unborn baby, placing his ear against her stomach, listening for kicks and tiny movements. Then came the day they had long awaited. The labor pains started, and Adana was rushed to the best hospital in town. Chief Chukwuebuka paced the hospital corridor, his heart pounding with anxiety. Hours passed, and finally, a nurse emerged with a smile. "Congratulations, Chief. Your wife has given birth to twins, a boy and a girl." His knees weakened with joy. Twins. It was more than he had prayed for. He rushed to the delivery room, eager to hold his babies and embrace his wife. But his world came crashing down when he saw the doctors huddled around Adana. Her breathing was shallow, her skin pale. She reached for his hand, her fingers trembling. "Ebuka, take care of our children," she whispered weakly. "No, Adana. Don't leave me. You promised we'd raise them together," he pleaded, tears spilling down his face. She only managed a faint smile before her eyes closed forever. The joy of fatherhood was overshadowed by the unbearable grief of losing the love of his life. Chief Chukwuebuka held his newborn twins, whispering Adana's name as he wept. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but the pain never faded. He buried himself in work and raising his children, ensuring they never lacked a mother's love. Every night, he told them stories of their mother, vowing never to let them forget the woman who had given her life to bring them into the world. Though Adana was gone, Chief Chukwuebuka never remarried. He built a foundation in her name, dedicating his life to honoring the love they once shared. And even in his loneliness, he found comfort in the children she had left behind, Richard and Rita. Years passed, and Richard and Rita grew up in luxury. Rita, intelligent and hardworking, followed in her father's footsteps in business. She attended elite schools, learned the intricacies of investments, and impressed her father's business associates with her sharp mind. Richard, however, was different. He was charming but reckless, more interested in partying, fast cars, and beautiful women than responsibilities. At family dinners, Chief Chukwuebuka often praised Rita. "You are the future of my empire." Richard scoffed. "And what about me, father?" "You must prove yourself first," Chukwuebuka always replied. Richard's resentment grew. He was the firstborn, yet his father favored Rita. And deep inside, he hated it. Despite their differences, Chief Chukwuebuka ensured both children had the best education. And after years of effort, the day finally came. Rita and Richard graduated from university. At the celebration dinner, he raised his glass. "Your mother would have been proud. This is just the beginning. Soon, you will take over the empire." Rita smiled, but Richard clenched his jaw. Would their father ever see him as worthy? "Let us be married," Chief Chukwuebuka declared, a radiant smile dancing upon his face. As days blossomed into weeks and weeks unfolded into months, their father's love for them deepened with an unyielding fervor. On this fateful day, Chief Donald Chukwuebuka had always known that wealth was both a blessing and a curse. He had built an empire through ruthless business dealings, navigating corrupt politicians, dangerous rivals, and criminal syndicates. But in the end, the very forces he had outwitted for decades came for him. It all started with a meeting at his Lagos estate. A man named Emeka, known as the Vulture, a feared and powerful figure in Lagos, had requested an audience. "You've been keeping secrets from me, Chief," Emeka said, his deep voice laced with menace. Chukwuebuka took a slow sip of his whiskey, his face unreadable. "I don't know what you mean." Emeka leaned forward, his piercing gaze locking onto Chukwuebuka's. "The offshore accounts. The gold reserves. You thought you could hide them from us forever?" Chukwuebuka's grip tightened around his glass. For years, he had meticulously moved his wealth into hidden investments, shielding it from both corrupt officials and criminal elements like Emeka. "I don't do business with vultures," he said coldly. Emeka smirked. "Then you leave me no choice." Before Chukwuebuka could react, Emeka pulled a gun from his jacket and aimed it at him. "No one plays dirty with me," Emeka said, his voice devoid of emotion. Then he pulled the trigger. That night, Chief Chukwuebuka was found dead in his study, slumped over his desk, a single bullet hole in his head. But the official report claimed it was a suicide. Emeka had arranged everything perfectly. There was no evidence to suggest otherwise. But Rita never believed it. Deep down, she knew her father had been murdered. Yet, without proof, she was powerless to fight back. Weeks later, after a grand burial ceremony, the family lawyer summoned Richard and Rita for the reading of their father's last will and testament. The lawyer's office was filled with an eerie silence, broken only by the steady ticking of the grand clock on the wall. The air was thick with tension as the lawyer, an elderly man with silver-rimmed glasses, adjusted his tie and cleared his throat. According to the last will and testament of Chief Donald Chukwuebuka, the lawyer announced, his assets shall be distributed as follows: to his son, Richard Chukwuebuka, I bequeath the family's mansions in Lagos, Abuja, and Accra, along with a sum of 5 billion naira. A smug grin spread across Richard's face. He leaned back in his chair, adjusting his designer suit, barely hiding his excitement. He had expected no less. The lawyer continued. To his daughter, Rita Chukwuebuka, I bequeath 1 million naira. And my personal mobile phone. A collective gasp filled the room. Rita's heart sank. A phone. 1 million naira. She clenched her fists, biting back tears. Was this some kind of joke? Richard let out a loud chuckle. Oh, this is priceless. You, the so-called genius, get a phone and a measly million, while I get the empire. Maybe Daddy wasn't as blind as I thought. Rita could barely breathe. Her father had always praised her intelligence, always said she had the mind of a true leader. Then why? Why would he do this to her? Without a word, she stormed out of the office, gripping the old phone tightly in her trembling hands. Now, the big question. Was there a mix-up in her father's will? Could this be a conspiracy from his brother? Was her father protecting and preparing her for the big task ahead? Was her father putting her to a test? Did her father give her a puzzle only she could solve? Or would her father's will truly made her the heir to war? Watch out for Heir to War Part 2.